Please give a warm Greenwich, Connecticut welcome to the fabulous Mike Zuendel.
Let's give it up for Pat. He's a man. I feel extremely honored to share this evening with all of you tonight, especially at this beautiful hotel. We got to spend last night here, and I can say the service, the staff, and the surroundings here are just outstanding place. My special thanks to Jen Cabrera, who I had the pleasure of meeting just last fall in New York at an Alzheimer's care project. Jen is a great leader, and she's passionate about ending Alzheimer's. So when she asked me if I would come to Connecticut to speak, I immediately said yes. So thank you, Jen, for this opportunity to share hope tonight. And also I want to thank Jen for your hospitality, giving us a really, really nice room. Thank you very much for dinner last night. We enjoyed it. We just hit it off right away, so you guys were good. So we're here tonight to share hope. And it's not false hope anymore. It's real hope. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I know I need to thank Sadie and Jenny, for they were very helpful to me in some of my speaker demands and organizing everything. And so they're just wonderful. We all know when we gather together and join in with hard work, dedication, and the drive to accomplish big goals, great outcomes happen. We have some big goals for tonight, with one big push to achieve those goals in a few minutes. So it's fitting that we are all here tonight. All is for a common cause. 3 years, 10 months, 16 days ago, I was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease. With that in mind, it is nice to be here tonight. As my friend Keith Richards says, it's just nice to be anywhere. This is a photo of my dad when he was named to the Des Moines High School All-City football team. He then received a full four-year scholarship to play for the University of Notre Dame. Are there any Irish fans in the crowd today? Good, I have a few friends in this. This is nice. My mom and dad were married at the Little Brown Chapel on the campus of Notre Dame. This is my mother. This is my mom. She had a wonderful sense of humor. In this photo, I believe she was trying to imitate Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. I have no idea where she found these sunglasses. They just appeared. Her life motto is "Have fun while you can." So regarding her sense of humor, there was one time when she was in her moderate, sort of foggy stage of Alzheimer's, and she used to walk down the hallway, all bent over, and I said, "Mom, stand up straight." So she stands up straight, and then she looks at me and says, "Oh, you mean knockers up?" Later in life, both my parents suffered from and died from Alzheimer's disease. I was their caretaker. I watched this disease overcome them bit by bit every day. And some of you here tonight are familiar with that. It removed their memory and memories. It removed their ability to have a conversation. It removed their ability to take care of themselves. And finally, their ability to eat, drink, and swallow. I knew then what could lie ahead for me now. So this is my story. My previous careers encompassed pediatric and hospital dentistry, real estate development on an amateur basis, and outpatient healthcare services, and Legacy Bridge private family offices, which is my current business, along with time spent as a ski instructor at Telluride Ski Resort in Colorado, where I now live, and as a professional off-road desert racer in Baja. I got a third place finish, which is the only time I ever finished that road. I used to race in Baja, Mexico, and the Mojave Desert. And I have a loyal pit crew that were with me, and they just happened to be at table 11. Now I am 69 years old, and for almost 4 years I have been learning to live with the diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease, also known tonight as MCI for mild cognitive impairment, or also known as early stage Alzheimer's. So how did I get to this point to be here tonight? Well, I discovered early on through a 23andMe genetic test that I had both Alzheimer's genes, which are only found in 2 to 5% of the population. My parents, as I mentioned, both had Alzheimer's disease, so I knew just from these two facts that I may not be heading toward a fairy tale future. It took me several years to come to grips that I was having short-term memory lapses, word finding, and some mild focus issues. Throughout the years, I had considered finding out what was wrong, but I procrastinated. Because after watching my parents, I was afraid to know the answer. We all have turning points in our life, moments that change our life direction or path. That point for me was really nothing remarkable, but solidified it was time to get serious about what was going on in my brain. My symptoms did not improve. My personal turning point came one day when I was looking for my cell phone, which was becoming a common occurrence. After 15 minutes of searching my whole house and both cars, going up and down 5 flights of stairs multiple times, I finally asked my wife to dial my phone so I could find it by listening for it to find it. The phone did ring, quite loudly in fact. I have been holding my phone in my hand the whole entire time. That's when I said to myself, okay, Mike, you have to find out what is really going on here. That was not an easy decision to make, for this would be the moment of truth. For looking back, I wish I had made it 5 years earlier. Early diagnosis and disease detection is some of the theme of my life and has helped me ward off cancer twice. When I was 42, I asked to undergo the screening measures for prostate cancer detection. Don't worry, I was told it's only a disease of elderly men. Well, the results came back and I had prostate cancer. At that time, I was only one of a few patients in their 40s to be so diagnosed. That insistence on early detection, followed by surgery, saved my life. My doctor told me I likely would not have lived past my 40s. The second time for early detection to dodge a cancer bullet was when I was 60. I had a colonoscopy on my birthday. I'm going to repeat. I had a colonoscopy on my 60th birthday. I know what you're thinking, Jim. This guy really knows how to have fun. Early detection from that screening led to a very significant surgery which saved me from colon cancer. Again, I asked my doctor, how long till this turned into very serious cancer? He looked me right in the eye and said about 18 months. So these two life-saving events made me an enthusiastic proponent for early detection and diagnosis, to say the least. So I decided to finally take the leap to find the cause of my own memory issues. At my first appointment at Banner Alzheimer's Institute in Phoenix, I was diagnosed with memory loss. And they wanted me to return for a second appointment, which involved extensive brain scans and 3.5-hour neurological exams. I wanted an accurate and early diagnosis. I found myself somewhat anxious, waiting for the results, as this was likely going to reveal some answers to the questions I had lurking in my mind since my parents died 20 years ago from Alzheimer's. I returned home and waited. It was a weekend, and I was alone at the moment. And I went to my computer and opened up the patient portal from Banner Institute, and there I finally found the clinical reports from my visit. The first report, the 3.5-hour psychological exam, showed that my tests were consistent with the diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment. The second report detailed the amyloid brain scan results. It stated there were multiple abnormal areas, some with complete loss of the white-gray matter, a border throughout my brain, with pathologically significant levels of beta amyloid. I had officially been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease. Given my parents' history, my genetic makeup, and my cognitive concerns, I was not totally surprised, but the diagnosis hit me like a ton of bricks. When you actually receive a diagnosis like that, your world stops. For some reason, you immediately go to the worst memories and fears you have, like memories of my father having 2 huge black eyes because he could not remember to step out of the way when he opened the bathroom door. Or my mother not knowing or being able to swallow as she neared the end of her life. It was devastating to have these long-term fears confirmed. As part of my reckoning with how to handle the consequences of being diagnosed with MCI due to Alzheimer's, I thought I actually might feel best by being open and forthcoming with others regarding my diagnosis. But I did have some concerns. I had a discussion with my family about going public with my diagnosis, as I knew this was going to affect them also. At some point in the discussion, the topic of the stigma associated with Alzheimer's came up. On one hand, I wanted to go public to fight the stigma. On the other hand, I did not want to go public because of the stigma. That is when one of my daughters laid it on the line for me when she said, "Dad, if you don't do this, who will?" My decision was made. You can't disappoint your daughters, right? The questions I then received from my family and friends were fairly typical, but also a little surprising. Some of my family and friends were skeptical, it felt, with responses, "Wow, I don't notice anything, you seem okay to me," or "Are you positive?" Or well, one intention question, "How do you know you have Alzheimer's for sure?" Because of my family and friends' compassion and their fear based on stigma, I felt they were trying to really find a way out for me. But my answer is now simple. I know my results in my neuropsych exams, and I've actually seen the multiple areas of amyloid accumulation in my brain. I now have no question of what is going on in my brain, and I am okay with that. I have now detected the disease in my brain without doubt. I know it lies ahead for me, and I am prepared for my future, and I am prepared to defeat Alzheimer's disease. Finding out my diagnosis allowed me some peace of mind, believe it or not, to know that I maybe, once again, through early detection and an accurate diagnosis, I might just have a chance, one more time, to get ahead of the game and beat a disease. I did it before, and I plan on doing it again. This is a slide of me and my family at my first infusion. In that room were 8 news photographers and news media people, and that was jammed as tight as you can be. So it's not as cool like that. 14 months after my diagnosis, I was very fortunate to receive my first dose of the FDA-approved drug Zuendel. I have now completed 32 monthly infusions. The big question, however, is the medication actually working? That's what everybody wants to know. Is it removing beta amyloid plaque from my brain as it was intended to do? Before and after. With a few months ago, I had a new amyloid brain scan to answer these questions. It shows, as a result of my 32 infusions, that I now have no pathological amyloid plaque buildup in my brain. My geriatrician told me I've had a miraculous recovery concerning the amyloid plaque removal. But I don't kid myself. I still have a ways to go. I still have some impairments. And I am far from being out of the woods. But honestly, I feel like I'm getting ready for the kickoff of the second half of my life. say nothing and everything. Nothing has changed because I'm still active and more involved than ever before. My business is growing, about to triple in size. We're actually planning to open a New York office this fall. I've become a public advocate for the first time in my life. I continue to ski double black mogul runs and Telluride most days. Drive my off-road racing vehicles at speeds faster than my wife thinks is appropriate. I'm busier than ever. I'm having fun while I can, and I am eternally grateful. I do not plan on letting this disease define me, change me, or push me into a corner. Screw Alzheimer's. Everything has changed due to a wonderful piece of advice I received from my geriatrician, the wonderful Dr. Allison Perrin at Banner's Alzheimer's Institute. She told me after discussing my diagnosis for the first time, a little shell-shocked, she said, Mike, this might be a difficult time, but you can find gratitude if you just look for it. Very simple. One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received. So now I'm determined to have an active and fulfilling life based on growing personally, contributing impactfully, living fully, finding gratitude in my family and everyday life, and one day being able to say, I used to have Alzheimer's. I was fortunate to have an op-ed piece regarding Alzheimer's posted on Facebook. Generated 25,000 responses in less than 3 days. I tried to read and respond to as many of these postings as I could. Most of the postings were from caregivers. And here are a few quotes from those caregivers. Quote, the long goodbye, a difficult, heartbreaking journey. He always seemed to love music and seemed to find comfort in it nearly to the end. I hope they find a cure for this thief who steals minds and breaks hearts. Quote, yes, I think it is worse than death. I have been dealing with my poor mom, and it's just heartbreaking. Quote, it was difficult, but I kept my husband at home for 3 years. It broke my heart to see the strong, smart, loving man looking at me, confusion in his eyes. Quote, this is such a devastating disease. It runs in my family, and I'm terrified of developing it. My prayers are with the caregivers, definitely. The demands on them are profound. What I read from the caregivers was authentic. It was not happy talk. The caregivers are sad, depressed, stressed out, broke, grieving, lonely, overworked, exhausted.
Amen.
And feel they have nowhere to turn and no answers. Fortunately, the Alzheimer's Association is uniquely positioned to offer help and support to those overworked, overburdened, and stressed out caregivers. I know there are some caregivers in the audience tonight, and I would ask that they please stand at this time. All the caregivers, paid or unpaid, volunteers, family, please stand and stay standing so we can recognize them. Angels sent from heaven, and you have the gratitude of all of us who have grandmothers and grandfathers, sisters and brothers, mothers and fathers, and friends affected by this terrible disease. All of our gratitude and heartfelt appreciation go out tonight to our caregivers and care partners. This is my favorite slide. This is my mom. She was pretty thin. I dream about the day when maybe I could describe myself as the first survivor of Alzheimer's disease. The there would only be one thing that would be much greater than that, and that would be to be the 1,000,000th and first survivor of this all-swarming disease. And you all play a critical part tonight in making that dream come true. Philanthropy has always led the way. Philanthropy ignites the spark and keeps the flame going until the goal is accomplished. Without philanthropy, great breakthroughs of our time would not have happened. As you heard from me, I recognize the importance of removing the stigma of talking about Alzheimer's. Because of that importance for early detection to each of us, and as someone who is living with Alzheimer's, along with nearly 7 million other people, I'm asking for each and every one of you to please make a gift tonight. Let's dig deep to make a difference. Then dig a little deeper if you would. We are finally entering the new era of treatment for Alzheimer's disease. This has been long waited and truly, tonight, transformative. We are on our way to winning this battle. Now is the time for an all-out effort. We cannot give up at this point. We can't give up, because victory over this terrible affliction is in our sight. For our caretakers and those of us with the disease, we have a great sense of urgency. Our clocks are ticking, and every day the ticking gets a little louder. Each and every gift tonight will help to end that relentless ticking. And in closing, Brooks, Diana, Carly, Brian, Chloe, and Mr. Brooks, my wonderful and awesome family, I give you much love tonight. Yeah. So in closing, to all of you tonight attending, from the bottom of my heart, I have my deepest gratitude for the wonderful concern, compassion, and support you all providing to the Alzheimer's Association for the benefit of those of us who have cognitive impairment, as well as their saintly caregivers. Thank you very much.